Good morning. I'm Matthew Dixon, bringing you the Traders Report on 3.0 TV. So, of course, in the news today, we have Bitcoin reaching new all-time highs, and we'll drill down into that in a moment. We have the decentralized exchange GMX has paused operations after a $40 million exploit where their liquidity pools were drained overnight. So this is obviously very serious, and we're seeing the GMX price dropping quite sharply on that news. We've got Ripple CEO is going to testify before Congress today, and this is a pivotal moment, of course, for XRP, and we're braced for volatility. We've got Polygon. They've launched a hard fork today, executing a very complex upgrade, activating a new consensus layer. And this is actually positive news, pretty good for Polygon holders. So we'll have a look at that chart. And then finally, Stellar has launched a new upgrade, which is got great institutional interest, and we're seeing some good price action on Stellar. So we'll have a close look at those in a moment. But I'll begin, as I so often do, on the S&P 500, and I'll show you exactly why. First of all, here is the S&P 500 chart. It's relatively long term. We're going back for over a year anyway. So let's look at this price action where we have a wave three was the all-time high previously. We've had an ABC down for wave four and pushing up in a final fifth wave, I believe, in this cycle. So I want to show a correlation here between S&P 500 and Bitcoin. There is a correlation. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to overlay the Bitcoin chart over this S&P 500. So here's the Bitcoin chart overlaid, and you can see the correlation there. So basically, virtually every time we move up, the Bitcoin price is the dark red here, and obviously the S&P 500 was the chart we just had up there. So when S&P 500 rises, Bitcoin rises. When it falls, etc. So we can see the long downtrend here in the wave four that we had in S&P 500. We had the same downturn in Bitcoin. And then this long move up on the fifth wave for Bitcoin. Again, same correlated move pretty well we've had in S&P 500. So the reason I'm showing you that is there is some genuine correlation here. So we can look at one chart and it will give us some clues to the next chart. Now, the reason I'm doing that specifically today is because Bitcoin is at a bit of a crossroads, and it's really hard to see where it's going at the moment. I think I've got a pretty clear idea, but actually I think there's a bit more clarity here on the S&P 500 chart. So I just want to show this correlation, and now I'll remove Bitcoin again, and we'll go back to that S&P 500 chart. So the reason I say I think the S&P 500 is giving us some clarity, if I go out longer term, we can see we've basically got a wave one up, two down, three up, four down, and we're working on a final fifth wave up within this cycle. Doesn't mean it's all over for S&P 500 once this cycle's finished, but we should at least get quite a decent correction. So we'll focus now back on this final fifth wave higher. So I'll go back to the 4-hour chart, focus on that fifth wave higher, and let's just see where we're at. So the fifth wave itself is broken down into another 5 waves. We've covered this before in previous shows, but I want to just show you the importance of Fibonacci measurements here. So what I'll do, I'll measure the first wave here. So I won't bother going into drawing on the chart, but I'll show you here. That's the first wave, and this is the beginning of that first wave here. So from wave 4, we move up in wave 1, a smaller wave 1 in red. So let me put the measuring tool, the Fibonacci measuring tool, and we'll get it to the top of that wave 1. And where it started there. So you can see the 100% here is at the top of wave 1, and the 0 point, just move it down a fraction more. The 0 point is at the start of this wave 4 here. Now we can actually move that same measurement around now. What we do is, I've got that measurement there of wave 1, and I transpose it now to the start of this wave 2 here. So the 0 point is now just resting on wave 2. Now, what's really important is wave 3 is normally the extended wave, and it's normally a multiple of the first wave. It's normally a minimum 1.618, and that level is here, but it's very often more extended. And then we have another one, 2.618, is the next Fibonacci extension, and beyond that, it's 4.236. But 2.618 is a really common regular extension for wave 3, and it's really interesting. We have that precise extension here The price reversed exactly on that extension. Then we've got a triangle wave 4. So we're pretty well confirmed that this was an extended wave 3 because a triangle can only occur in two different wave positions. It can occur in wave 4 or wave B wave position. So this is clearly not a wave B, it's a wave 4. So that confirms to me we have 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 3. That's here. We have a triangle wave 4. Wave 4 is a pre-terminal wave. The triangle is a pre-terminal wave here, wave 4, and a terminal wave is wave 5. So this final move up here is the final move in this cycle, then we should expect quite a substantial correction. So this has given me some pointers, because of the correlation, it's given me some pointers to Bitcoin, what's going to happen on Bitcoin price. So again, let me just look at some of the interesting indicators that we have here. We've looked at these again previously, but it's really important, I think, to focus on them again. So here we have higher highs on the S&P 500 price. This is right up to the top of wave 3, and we have lower highs on the corresponding RSI. That is basically regular bearish divergence. It told you again, we're probably at the end of this wave. So there's multiple confirmations that we're at the end of this wave here, and we should expect the move down. That's exactly what we had. It moved down in this triangle consolidation, wave 4, and that's labeled A, B, C, D, E for a triangle. And then following that, you get a thrust to the upside in the final terminal wave to the upside. And we'll focus again, see whether we're finished on that move. But this is really good because, again, we saw the top of that wave with a divergence, and we can look at other divergences. There's a further divergence here where we got higher highs on price, corresponding lower highs on RSI, and we actually had overbought RSI. That told us there's going to be a bit of a downturn. Then after that ABC downturn, and I'll just expand that out a little bit so we can see a bit more clearly. After that ABC downturn, we got some further divergence here, which is basically hidden bullish divergence, which was telling us it's got actually higher lows on price and lower lows on RSI. So that was telling us there's going to be basically a continuation of this little uptrend here that started here. And so far, we have 3 waves down, 3 waves up. If it finishes as that, and it looks as though we probably are going to finish with 3 down, 3 up, that should be followed by 5 waves down. That's why I've got the C wave labeled down here. So potentially we're going to see a little bit of downward movement on the S&P 500 before we then see some further upward movement. So I suspect that we have some sort of this wave 4 here in the final wave 5. The final wave 5 will itself be broken into 5 waves. So I think we have some kind of wave 1 maybe here, 2, 3 up here, then ABC 4, and we'll have a final 5th wave. So we're not yet finished with upside for the S&P 500. And that probably tells us we're probably not finished with upside for Bitcoin. But short term, we may see a little bit of downside. So let's flip over now to Bitcoin, the Bitcoin chart. And we've concluded that there is some correlation here between Bitcoin S&P. So whilst Bitcoin has hit a new all-time high, it may still get slightly more all-time high. If it remains correlated with the S&P 500, we should see a bit of a pullback before another push to new all-time highs yet again, I think, for Bitcoin. But I think we currently, if I scroll out a little bit, we've had a double top. I'll probably go on to the daily here. We've had a pretty good double top, although we slightly got a new all-time high by just a few dollars here. We can see longer term, that wave 3, we've got potentially wave 4, and we're pushing up in wave 5. But this may be a temporary double top here. We may get a little bit of a pullback. That often happens within trading when you see price reach a previous all-time high that is really significant all-time high. Then sometimes it acts as overhead resistance, and you might get a little bit of a pullback. But I'm not negative, I'm not bearish at this stage. I still think at some point we will still see another all-time high. I don't think this wave 5 is finished here. I think we've probably got quite a bit higher to go. And that would equate with what I've just said on the S&P 500. We may get a little bit of a pullback. We had ABC on the S&P 500. So a little bit of a pullback and then further movement to the upside on Bitcoin. We'll scroll through pretty quickly, having a look. We've got the same sort of story with Ethereum. Again, we've got all those beautiful divergences which showed us on a different time frame here. I think we're on a 4-hour for these divergences. That's correct. So here we had a divergence here, which was hidden bearish divergence, telling you there's going to be a bit of downside. That's exactly what we got. We've now moved into quite considerably overbought territory on the RSI, and that is likely telling you that we may see a turn fairly soon. So as I said, with Bitcoin, with the S&P, we may get a little bit of a pullback before we push higher again. So again, I don't think we've finished upward movement. Solana, similar sort of story. I think we may get a bit of a pullback before further upside movement for Solana. Just moving on to those tokens, we'll have to run by the DXY and so on today, because we've got a lot to focus on here with the news that we've had. Obviously, XLM had that news, obviously positive news. It was a really positive upgrade that we had with XLM, with the protocol upgrade, institutional interest, etc. And we can see the massive pump that we had there. So just focusing on a little bit longer term, we can actually see this is looking quite bullish for the time being. This is a really impulsive type of movement without overlap to the upside. So I think we may get a little bit more upside to come yet. But very often after news like this, you sometimes do get buy the rumor, sell the news event. So we've sort of bought the rumor. The news has come out, had a pump. We may actually have again a little bit of a pullback, like Bitcoin and like S&P 500. So possibly a pullback there. In other news, obviously we had Matic, which had a hard fork today, a great upgrade. But the thing is, we got a massive pump in price, but it fell back very, very sharply. So we've got this big shadow here above. So potentially we could see again a bit more of a pullback possibly before any more positive movement. So although you'd think that'd be positive, if you're on it, you've probably got a really good move, but it's probably good to take profit on that. Again, we potentially have an ABC move here, so we could push down a little bit more. So there's a bit of uncertainty there. And then finally, I just want to touch on GMX here. That was the DEX that was hacked over. The liquidity pools were basically drained, $40 million drained overnight. And we can see what happens to the price. Serious negative movement here for GMX. So I'm sure they'll recover from this. It's not the end of the world, but it's just a painful reminder that we've always got to be wary of hacks and about diversification. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. However good the story is, you never know what can happen, especially in crypto world. So that's pretty much it for today. Hope it was helpful. But just to summarize, I think that we could be looking for a little bit of a pullback after new all-time highs on Bitcoin. But I think there's still new all-time highs yet to come again for Bitcoin, and new highs to come in the near future for other cryptocurrency assets. So thank you so much for listening. Look forward to catching up again soon. Have a great day and bye for now.